In October of 1032, the Roman Catholic Church transitioned into a period of despicable atrocities when a teenage boy became the Supreme Pontiff in the name of Pope Benedict IX. With one of the most powerful armies in his possession and an unrestricted access to the papal treasury, the 19-year-old sexual pervert suddenly found himself wielding more power than he could ever imagine. He sponsored multiple sex orgies in the papal household, orchestrated countless murders, rapes, and castrations, and eventually sold his papacy to his godfather for an enormous amount in cash. In this episode, we narrate the life and most horrific acts of the youngest pope in history, Theophylactus of Tusculum, the man who transformed the Apostolic Lateran Palace into a brothel and brought the church to the brink of bankruptcy. Pope Benedict IX was born Theophylactus of Tusculum in the year 1012 to the powerful Tusculani family. He was the son of Alberic III, the Count of Tusculum. Benedict was a close blood relative of several previous popes, including two of his uncles, a granduncle, and many others before them. When his uncle Pope John XIX passed away in October 1032, Benedict made an inexplicable ascension to the papal chair after his father bribed political elites in Rome and paid off all influential church members who tried to lay claims. Benedict was less than 20 at the time. He essentially inherited the title, as his two immediate predecessors were his direct uncles. Benedict's reign was characterized by a wave of scandals and factional strife within the church. He was bisexual. He carried out non-consensual sexual intercourse with both men and women in the church, mainly by abusing his authority and, on several occasions, by use of violence. The young pope was a serial rapist and bullied all his victims and witnesses into silence with the threat of propaganda and constantly reminded them of repercussions of non-compliance. His rape victims were not just women and other men, but animals as well. Even with all these, he was still not able to gratify his sexual impulses. As such, he regularly organized sex orgies, during which he and his men freely engaged in an open and unrestrained gangbang with other men, women, and animals. To make matters worse, these orgies were hosted at the Apostolic Lateran Palace, which was then the principal papal residence and located adjacent to the papal archbasilica of St. John, thereby creating a highly sexualized church environment. In addition to his sexual perversion, the young Benedict was also a gangster. He and his clergy hoodlums orchestrated a series of murders, specifically targeting those who tried to oppose his rule or laid claim to his papacy. He is also reported to have castrated a number of men, including an opposing bishop, just to send a message to his rivals. For 12 consecutive years, the church witnessed a horrifying magnitude of tyranny under Pope Benedict IX. Even the general public was fed up with the pope's impropriety. In December of 1044, Pope Benedict IX was toppled by a rival political faction headed by Bishop Benno of Piacenza. Benedict was expelled from the city by the people of Rome. On the 20th of January 1045, Bishop John from the Diocese of Sabina was elected to the papal office as Pope Sylvester III, but the new pope's reign would last barely over a month, as young Benedict wasn't ready to give up power so easily. Benedict rallied his powerful Tusculani family militia. Together with the help of Conrad II, the Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, they marched on Rome, overpowered the papal army, and deposed Pope Sylvester III on the 10th of March 1045. Benedict's father had paid heavily for his first pontification. This time, he took it by force. When the deposed Pope, Sylvester, tried to return to Sabina to resume his office of bishop, Benedict deprived him of all bishopric privileges and sentenced him to a monastery. By this time, Benedict was 32. A little more mature, but his deceiving and conniving character remained the same. However, he was gradually getting fed up with the responsibilities and torments of being a pope, especially the fact that his office prevented him from marrying a cousin he was infatuated with. Benedict therefore sold his papacy to his godfather, John Gratian, then Archpriest of St. John by the Latin Gate, for a huge amount of money in cash. John Gratian became Supreme Pontiff in the name of Pope Gregory VI. Though Gregory's ascension to the papal chair wasn't done in the most ethical manner, it was hailed with joy since it meant the resignation of Benedict and the hopes that it would bring peace and some integrity to the papal office. Unfortunately, it didn't bring peace, as Benedict's resignation motivated the deposed Pope Sylvester III, who had been sentenced to a monastery, to rise and reassert his claim to the papacy, thereby creating a rival faction to the new pope's rule. Also, with an empty treasury and a clergy that had completely lost the savor of righteousness, the new Pope Gregory VI was confronted by an almost impossible task. To make matters worse, just within months of his resignation, Benedict had squandered all the proceeds he had received from the sale of his papacy, and the cousin he badly wanted to marry had turned him down. Benedict started contemplating the bargain he made with Gregory and began making attempts to depose the new pope, his own godfather. By this time, all three popes, Benedict, Sylvester, and Gregory, had their own followers within the church, and factional strife was at its height in papal politics. As a result, Henry III, King of Germany, summoned the three men at the town of Sutri in the outskirts of Rome and resolved the issue by asking all three to stand down. King Henry instead nominated a fellow German, Bishop Suiger of Bamberg, to the papacy. Suiger became Supreme Pontiff in the name of Pope Clement II on the 25th of December 1046. His first act as Pope was to return the favor by bestowing the title of Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire on King Henry III of Germany. The new pope brought some stability to the papacy, but died just within 10 months of his reign, allegedly by poison. As we conclude the story, please remember to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. Following the sudden death of Pope Clement II, Benedict seized the opportunity, snuck himself into Rome, and assumed the office of Supreme Pontiff for the third time. Benedict's third papacy lasted just 8 months, as he was chased away by King Henry's forces in July of 1048. It was his third and final term as Pope. A year later, he was summoned to stand trial for simony, i.e. selling the papacy for cash. He failed to appear before the council and was excommunicated. Benedict died in 1056 in a monastery at the age of 44. Benedict is notorious for many things. First, he is the youngest pope in the history of the Roman Catholic Church. Secondly, he was the first pope rumored to have been primarily homosexual. Thirdly, he is the only man in history to have been pope 3 different times. And finally, he is the only pope in history who sold his papacy for cash. His career and atrocities taught the Catholic Church a bitter lesson. The scandals of Benedict IX's papacy immensely contributed to the implementation of rules limiting the age of cardinals, the pool from which a pope is elected. Also, the Church imposed severe restrictions on admission into the conclave, which is the body charged with electing the Pope. Ferdinand Gregorovius, a specialist in Roman history and critic of the papacy, described Pope Benedict IX as a demon from hell who disguised himself as a priest and occupied the chair of St. Peter. Thank you for watching. And please remember to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell for more videos on crime stories, notorious outlaws, and historical scandals.